The Colossus of New York came out in 1958 and it is a somewhat take on the old Frankenstein tale. What we have here is we have a scientist, it's a best person of our time span, who is in a tragic accident just after receiving the Nobel Peace Prize. His father and brother are both doctors. His father specialises in brain surgery, and they just can't face the fact that the world has lost this great talent, this person who was going to solve so many of the world's problems. So much so that they decide to do the unthinkable. They decide to transplant this brain into this big robotic monster to try and keep his spirit, his smarts alive, so that he can continue to work and help humanity. And the movie goes places after that, and it's really interesting because it tackles lots of themes, it tackles lots of subjects, interesting facts, great discussions throughout its extremely short runtime. It's around about 72 minutes. One of the things I really love about it is the things that it deals with. It deals with the loss of a loved one, because you have the mother and the son who's lost their father. You've got the father and his son who's lost a son and brother, and they're trying to cope with that, and they're willing to do things that are unthinkable to try and bring their son back to somewhat life. You have the reanimated brain of this scientist, this Nobel Prize winning scientist who wants to die, who doesn't want to live in this state. There are theological discussions about whether it's just the brain that makes up, or whether it's the soul that goes with it that makes the person who they are. You have the loss of humanity, because as this scientist deals with the fact that he's just a brain in an autonomous body, starts to rebel against that, starts to warp his way of thinking. He doesn't seem to have morals anymore. He's looking at what he wants and what it's going to take to achieve that, and whether it be destruction of man or not, it doesn't matter. It's in his path. He's going to take over it, steamroll over it. He wants to reconnect with his wife and his son, the two passions of his life, something that he's been kind of sidelined from, and it's something that he wants to get back to, and he just can't do that, not in the form that he's in. You also get the aspect of the scientists doing things because they can, and not really thinking about the ramifications of actually doing these things, and when things go awry, the realisation of what they have actually done. There's a lot in this for a really pulpy 50s movie that is just on the surface a science fiction kind of genre movie. It does have a lot more with it, and that's what's going to bring me back to this movie. The fact that it's not just a simple product of its time, which it is on one level, but it's so much more that goes in amongst it. And although it has kind of not the greatest special effects, but of the time special effects, you know, that the monster itself, the robot, looks cheap and kind of tacky, but it's been ramshackled together by this scientist. It's not supposed to be perfect. I can live with that. Some of the visual effects later on are kind of hokey, but they're fun in the same way. And I love some of the images, especially at the end, where we get this almost Doctor Doom type figure stepping out of the fog to run rampant on New York. It's really fun. You know, it's an interesting science fiction genre piece. It's one that I'd never heard of before. I'm so glad I got to check this out. It's coming out on 101 Films Blu-ray. It's got a commentary by a couple of film historians who I'm going to listen to, because I'm quite curious about what they discuss about this movie. And if you haven't seen it, thoroughly recommended. I think it's terrific. Yeah, great film. I'd love to know your thoughts. If you've seen this one before, let me know in the comment box below, and I'll see you next time on Man vs. Film.